What's going on, guys? Damn, it has been a while since we've done a how-to video, so I'm pretty stoked about this one. We're going to be working on the B2 today, and let's just get right into it, show you guys what's going on. Alright, so as you can see, we got the B2 in pieces here. Don't want to give you too much here, but if we look over here, we have the 72-450 out of the chassis with the 3-speed switch, and we are getting rid of that. Had my phone on the far driver, works excellent, and I love every bit of it. But you know, I got the B1 on the Flipsky, and the vest just feels so dang good, man. I've been leveling up on the wheelies on this thing, and I really want to get good at the B2. So I did add a couple things. I added this little makeshift shift lock, that way I can hook my foot under while I'm doing wheelies, and I feel more comfortable taking my hand off, doing stuff like that. Also, I kind of cut some slits into the foot lever here to kind of bend this down. I ran out of adjustments on here and here, so I couldn't bring this up any more. So I just cut a couple slits in it, and then I bent it down, re-welded it, painted it all black, and now it feels really good. It's in a perfect position, so we got that going for us. But yeah, so we are going to be mounting the Flipsky 75-450 into the B2. And as you guys probably know, I had this in the mototec, and it's just not going to work out at the moment. I have a QS165 encoder model in the mototec, and it seems like a lot of people and a lot of information that I'm getting, they're not able to actually connect this without running it sensorless, and that's not what I want. I want it to be nice and smooth, and I want it to run right. So what we're going to be doing instead is, we got this QS120. This is a Hall version, so we're going to be slapping these two together. Of course, we got my B2 battery, and I've already gone ahead and done some prep work here. And basically, I just held the controller up and I cut some holes here so you can see some fresh ones. We got 1, 2, 3, and then 4 up top there. And it's going to mount perfectly. So I'm going to jump ahead and actually, I'm not going to jump ahead. So what we're going to be doing in this video is I'm just going to be showing you how I'm going to wire all this stuff up. Obviously, I need to crimp some ring terminals on these so I can bolt it up to the battery and the motor. So I'm going to be showing you what I'll be using to crimp these, and then showing you how to wire this stuff up. It is very simple. It's actually a little bit easier than the far driver. We actually already have our key switch stuff right here. So this is going to be for our key and our voltmeter. And then we're gonna have our throttle somewhere in here. And that's basically it, guys. Just a throttle and voltmeter, key switch. Then we'll run our DC to DC reducer off of the battery power. Of course, you guys know I have my light set up on here, so gotta keep that functional. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So basically, just to show you, I'm going to be wiring up the voltmeter. This is an aftermarket voltmeter, but it will wire up the same. All voltmeters are going to be the same. The only difference is their appearance. Otherwise, it's just a positive and a negative. That's it. And then, of course, we got our throttle, and then I'll show you guys how the color matches. Obviously, these ones are a little funny. They're brown, blue, and black instead of your normal red, green, and black. So I'll show you that. And then, of course, the Flipsky is going to be a little bit different. Instead of having like ground, signal, and 5 volt, you're going to have 3.3 volts, ADC 1, and then ground, of course. So I'll show you guys how to do all that stuff. But like I said, it's going to be super easy. We got a throttle, voltmeter, key switch, done. You know, there's a bunch of other stuff you can do with these, but for the pit bike configuration, super easy. All right, let's get into wiring up this controller. We need to take care of these positive, negative, and our phase wires here. So these are bare at the moment, but what we need to do is eventually end up like this. Now you could go a little bit different. You could do bullet connectors, or you could wire up QS8, QS10. In my case, We have the Anderson connector right there, but I'm just going to be bolting those together and then heat shrinking them. Not ideal. You want to keep this run as short as possible, but you know, whatever. Should be just fine how it is. So basically, I already have my heat shrink on here. That way I don't forget. And what I'm going to be doing is cutting the insulation back about as long as this is going to be. So as you can see here, I'll probably cut it right around there on all three of them. Go ahead and I'll twist all these together, push these in, and then I have my crimper right here. And basically what I do is I just start from the largest crimp, and then I work my way down to a smaller one, and then a smaller one, until this small one is just enough to crimp this nice and tight. I mean, I'm sure there's probably a proper way to do this, but has not failed me yet. And then of course, guys, as always, there's a link down in the description for all of this stuff. Now I did have to order these ones specifically, separate from the crimping tool right here, but give you a quick idea. Gauge, 1/4 inch hole. There's 10 of these bad dogs in here. But like I said, I'll leave a link to all this stuff down in the description so you guys don't have to go on a scavenger hunt to look for them. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead, like I said, cut the insulation back, put my ring terminal on, crimp it, and then heat shrink. I got my heat gun over here. Of course, you can use a lighter or a hair dryer. I'm sure a hair dryer would probably work, probably be a little bit slower, but whatever you got to do. All right, guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and knock this out. And just like that, we're all finished as far as the ring terminals go. Now I did forget to mention, of course, we do need to add a hall sensor, some sort of connector. I mean, if you guys are using the waterproof connectors like this, you can just throw on a 6-pin waterproof connector, and then of course you just match your colors up with the motor's hall sensor right there. I have cut a ton of these off of far drivers, so what I'm going to be doing is de-pinning these, and these actually use the same pins as the Suron style 3-pin connectors right here. So I got a bunch of pins I'm going to be using, but like I said, just to make it easier for you guys, these Furukawa 6.2s, I believe they're called, they're a little bit expensive. They're like 15 bucks to get one with some pins. So, you know, if you already got yourself a set of waterproof connectors, of course, I'll leave the link to these down in the description. You can just use a 6-pin, so no worries on that. So what I'm going to do real quick before we get into the key switch and the throttle is I'm going to go ahead and hook up my hall sensor connector, and then we'll get back to the rest of it. But yeah, this should be pretty simple, and we should be able to get this done pretty quick. Hall plug all set up. Oh, forgot the little retaining clip that goes in it. But I see this question asked a lot, is the colors don't match up. Now the colors actually do match up, other than this orange right here. Just pretend this orange is yellow, green to green, blue to blue is just a different shade blue. And then the important ones though are make sure you have black to black and red to red. And then of course, if you have a temp sensor, your white will be your temp sensor. Of course, match that white to white, and simple as that. So we are all finished with that. Next, we are going to start on our throttle. So we go here and we're gonna see we have 3.3 volt, a ground, and an ADC1. Now with the 75 450, they're all kind of glued in here and potted, so it's a little hard to tell the orientation. So if you can't tell which wire is which, just simply go to your plug, and we can see 5 volt is the first one, 3.3 is the second one, then ground, third and fourth for ADC. So we want our second, third, and fourth wire right there. So now we know the orientation of what's going on here, just in case these are glued and like these wires happen to be like switched up in the glue or something and you can't really tell. So use the main plug as kind of like a guide here. So I already have my 3 wires cut. Now we are going to have our ADC1 is going to be our white, that is our signal wire, our ground of course black, and then our 3.3 volts is going to be our source. Now you don't want to use 5 volts. ADC one can only handle up to 3.3 volts. As far as I know, I don't know if they've changed that with the newer Flipskys. Most likely not though, so let's stick with 3.3 volts. If you put 5 volts to them, I know at least on the 75200 Pro V2, it will pop the ADC circuit, and you don't want to do that. So make sure you're using 3.3 volts. So again, we have our ground is going to go to our ground on our throttle, and then our white is going to go to our signal on our throttle, which is normally green. For our Sur-on throttle, it will be blue. So white to blue, black to black. And then our last one, we have our source, 3.3 volts, our red on a normal throttle, be red to red. On our Sur-on throttle, we're going to be red to brown. So remember, red to brown, blue to white, black to black, and you're good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and slap my connector on here, and then we will move on to, what do we got next? Yeah, just our key switch and our voltmeter. All right guys, the sun is encroaching on us and it is starting to ruin my lighting, but we're almost there, almost there. Basically, we just got to finish up the key switch voltmeter, and then from there we just got to mount it all up in there. And then of course I'll do a separate video tuning this to the QS120, but first we got to get this finished. So let's go ahead and go to our key switch and voltmeter wires. You're going to see battery positive, ignition, and ground. It says ignite, but what we want to focus on right now is ignite and battery positive. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this connector off, but basically what we want to do is where it says ignite on the red wire here, I'm going to be adding a secondary wire. That way this is going to turn on the controller, but it's also going to steal power and go to the voltmeter, so that way we know what our voltage is at. So let me go ahead and cut this up and then splice these two together, and then I'll show you what we're gonna do after that. So now I have these pinned, and like I said, I spliced that red wire into the other red wire. So let's go back and refresh real quick. So our green is going to be our battery positive, so we got that separate. Our red is going to be our ignite or ignition, so skinny red on the right there is spliced with a thicker red, and we got that on these two male pins, so these two will go together on one connector. And then spliced off that, we have our thick red looping up into a single female pin, and then we have our black, which is our ground, which we're going to use for our voltmeter. So that thick red is going to, so when you turn your key switch on, that green is going to send power to red. That red is going to turn on the controller as it is the ignition, but that power is also going to flow into the thicker red, loop back in, and then it's going to go up into the voltmeter's positive, and then the voltmeter is going to ground back out into this ground wire, right into ground. So it's just a big happy loop right here. And then as you can see, I have two females for the voltmeter and then two males for the key switch. Now I already have these existing. This one right here in the middle of the screen is my voltmeter, and then this one right here is my key switch. So it's always best to, if you have the same connector, so these are both going to be 2 pins, use a female 2 pin for this one and a male 2 pin for this one. That way you can't accidentally mess them up, because you know, the key switch, it doesn't matter which wire goes to which, but the voltmeter, it is very important you get positive to positive and negative to negative. So I'm going to go ahead and pin my connectors on, and from there basically we could just bolt this into the bike itself. We're going to bolt these on to our phase wires with a bolt, and then use heat shrink to cover these so these don't arc out on anything. Same with these guys. But yeah, so let me go ahead and mount all this up, and then we'll go from there. Alright guys, just to give you a quick example of how I am doing things. So I have my battery lead here, but I also have 2 extra leads here as well. Now my battery is a common port battery, so it only has 1 set of wires going in and out. So this right here is going to be tapped into my positive and negative, and this connector will attach to my charge port to charge the battery. And then this one right here, this is going to go to my 12-volt reducer. So this is going to power my reducer directly off my battery. So again, everything's going to charge through here. All my 12-volt accessories going to get power here, and then of course this will plug directly into my battery. Of course I use bolts and nuts, and then shrink wrapped. Also probably just because I like to be a little bit over the top, I'm just gonna make this thick with electrical tape, keep it nice and insulated, and then do the exact same thing with all 3 of my phase wires. And then I took some of my fabric tape and wrapped up my wires nice and neat. Got these kind of tucked up, zip tie these up and out of the way just like so. So we're gonna go ahead and get the controller mounted up, and then phases all hooked up, get everything all plugged in, and then we should be ready to at least turn the key, make sure the voltmeter works, and then from there I can tune it and all that good stuff in the next video. Alright guys, so it's a couple days later. While I was finishing this up a couple days ago, I ended up getting a message about my B1 that I'd been waiting for, and I'll give you guys a little sneak peek at the end of the video. But basically I'm just making this to end this video right now and show you guys we got it all hooked up. Everything is in the B2. I actually already have this tuned, and this thing is insane, guys. But I just wanted to show you everything and show you guys that it fit really good. Everything's working great. So let's go ahead and flip this over. All right. So yeah, guys, like I was saying in the video, nothing pretty, but I just wrapped this with electrical tape to keep it nice and thick and insulated. That way absolutely nothing can rub into those and cause an arc. As you can see, we have our controller mounted. All it took was drilling a few holes. Got plenty of room in between the controller and the battery itself. And then, like I said, the Flipsky just kind of makes this very basic. All you have is your key switch, your voltmeter, and a throttle. There's no 3-speed switch, so all this is cleaned up. Got rid of that red button. If you guys haven't got rid of that red button on your B2, I highly recommend it. That thing will leave you stranded. I think bombmoto is actually getting rid of those too. They see in the issue. It just wasn't a very good button. But yeah, like I said, this is very simple, very dumbed down, very dirt bikey, no modes, but the throttle smoothness and the response of the Vesk really makes up for that. So I can have this thing set to 200 amps. Do that at your own risk, guys. But I have this set up at like 200 amps, but I can still do the slowest precise wheelies on this thing, and it's insane. And it's the reason I wanted to go to Vesk is, like I said, the average Joe, a far driver versus a Vesk, I mean, you probably won't notice too big of a difference, but when you're doing wheelies and you're looking for that precise throttle control off the lip of a jump, or, you know, it's just stuff like that, I think the Vesk is definitely way superior. Now, I won't be selling kits. Obviously, I sell far driver kits for the bombmoto B1 and B2. I won't be doing Vesk kits. It's just too complicated. I can't really send them to you pre-tuned. It's much more expensive, and basically I would have to get with you every time I sell a kit, and I would have to help you through the tune. And there's a lot of people out there who buy my kits who don't have access or just don't have the know-how to get into the Vesk tool or, you know, some sort of phone app and tune these things. So it's just not a viable option. So I'm sticking with the far driver as far as the plug and play kits. I know I'm going to get a lot of questions is, why do you sell far driver and you went to Vesk? Well, that's my answer, guys. It's too much. It's too complicated. It's far driver so much easier. Far driver performs great, gets plenty of top speed. So hopefully that'll help answer your questions. But yeah, guys. So like I said, this thing is already tuned. We're gonna just turn it on in this video. Gotta grab my key off the new bike over here that I'll show you here in just a second. But key on, it's so hard to see these things at night, but voltmeter turned on and it is ready to go. Hell yeah, guys, I'm super stoked this worked out. Finally, I've been sitting on this controller for like 6 months now, maybe even longer, so I'm excited to have this in the B2. But yeah, so while I was working on the B2 a couple days ago, I got a message that I had been waiting for for somebody who messaged me to get a title for a bike. We had planned to trade his bike for my B1. And basically I just needed to get the B1 ready that night and throw the dirt tires back on, clean it all up, make it look pretty, and then the next day I was driving 5 hours over to Georgia to go trade my B1 for the new bike. Now this bike, I mean, you guys have seen me have gas bikes. I had the KTM, the SSR, and this thing's just going to open up some opportunities. I'm actually going to be going to Miami for Broward on top on this thing. Super stoked. I've been wanting a mini moto for a long time, so let's check it out. We got a fresh Kawasaki Z125. It's a 2020. It's got when I got it, it was like 1,100 miles. I probably put maybe 200 miles on it already, just mobbing everywhere. I'm super stoked though. This thing's very clean. Came with the 12 bar already. Got the sliders. It's got the stunt pegs. It's got a nice lever. It's got the nice RSC one finger lever. Flush mount lights. The tail tidy. I mean, everything is there. And it feels so freaking good. I am stoked. So you'll be seeing me doing a lot of wheelies on this thing, but I figure I'll just give you a little sneak peek in this video since the video is over. But yeah, guys, we got the B2, we got the Z125. Mototec just got all new suspension, so we got a 1,000-pound shock. We got the B2 forks. Got to get a front brake for that. I got to clean this thing up, tear it all down. I need to paint. All this stuff's getting rusty, so I need to go through wire wheel, all that stuff. But yeah, guys, I think that's going to do it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed learning how to hook up a Vesk or the 75-450 Flipsky to the B2. Obviously, if you have a different bike, it's all going to wire up the same. It's just the tuning part is going to be different. Alright guys, look forward to the next video. We'll get this B2 all tuned up for you. That way you can copy me as well. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.